Hey, good morning. And I want us to talk this morning briefly about a culture of human rights, a culture of human rights. And the topic is regulation. You have a 101 on, if you must me for the last 2-3 days, I think it gave you a free lesson, 101 on human rights, a culture of human rights. You see, people who were not born in 1990, who were born before 1990, and people who were not in South Africa before 1990 will never understand a South African's obsession with his constitutional rights. They'll never understand that because you must have been there to know what we've been through. And you'll never have appreciation. You have to go to school to study that. You have to talk to the people who were there to understand a South African's obsession with their constitutional right. If you come from any other part of the world or any other part of Africa, you should possess the wisdom that Nebuchadnezzar possessed. If you go to the book of Daniel 1, the Bible says after Nebuchadnezzar had captured Jerusalem and he took the Jews into exile, he said to his nobles, identify among yourselves young Jewish men with connections to royalty, and let us teach them our ways, for them to be useful before we deploy them within various spheres of Babylon's government. Let us teach them our ways. The missionaries did that. The missionaries would go to a place and they would sit there for a long time, learning the culture, the language, the thinking. They did that. Do you know why? Because for your contribution to be meaningful in a foreign land, it has to be contextualized. So Nebuchadnezzar's concern was, these guys have potential. These guys are clever, but they have no context of how the Babylonian kingdom operates. So let's put them through a process. And true enough, his plan worked, because among the young men he put through a process were Daniel, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. And now that they understood the culture of Babylon, they mixed their intelligence with context. A lot of our brothers and sisters from other parts of the world don't understand how South Africa works. Some few years ago, we had the most progressive constitution in the whole world. Experts were saying this constitution is even more progressive than a lot of long-established constitutional democracies. South Africa, don't forget, in the history of this nation, we've never been under any military rule. In the history of this nation, there was never a coup. There have been civil wars, the Anglo-Boer War, but they ended up in truces. The transition from apartheid to democracy, though it was fought violently, the transition was peaceful. It was a handover of power. And the people are obsessed. Shimikotu is obsessed, or Dr. Shimikotu is obsessed with his rights. Let me tell you why. Because we were nobodies on our land. And we saw people from outside come in and treat us like dead. The Europeans came here and they treated us like dead. They called us boy. They harassed us. They bullied us. We were forced to call them bars. You understand that? We were forced to carry our qualifications of citizenry in our pockets. It was called a dompa. I had a dompas. By the way, I'm 56 years old. I was born 56 years ago. At the time the revolution started in 1976, I was the same age with Hector Peterson. I've seen the transition. Following the revolution, I remember my brother and I were to sleep I was 15, you were 7, we had to sleep at home with old medication bottles next to our beds. because the cops would just kick the doors anytime and carry us away. So we wanted justification of why we should not be taken, because we were nobodies, we had no rights. We never knew who else would come knocking. Did they knock? No. Who else would come breaking the doors down and demanding things from us? So we hate bullying. Intelligent and intellectual and academic South Africans, like Dr. Kotu, by the way, we hate intimidation. We hate bullying. We hate contempt, to be treated contemptuously. And that is why when those people gave us back our government and we came into power, the first thing we did, we worked on the constitution. I was a young government manager then. And I remember we were part of the process, the white papers, the blue papers, the bills. We worked. At some stage, I was the head of some government department. Three times in my life before I quit government many years ago. And we came up with a set of rules that would ensure that never again would we be subjected to the humiliation, the dehumanized treatment. Never again. We resolved the never again. And listen to me, never again means never again. So, when the Civil Rights Commission, headed by Togo Kaluva, went to Parliament, they found a group of people, many of whom had gone through the humiliation. They had gone through the dehumanized treatment, the embarrassment. I mean, really. I remember when they arrested us back then, we were stripped naked and left in the courtyard the whole day. People who were not South African then will never understand what I'm saying. I went to, those of you who were around Joburg, you know Albert Street. That was the Commissioner of Native Affairs. And there you had to get your F card before you could be employed. They gave you two cards, E card and F card. And those gave you the right to work in cities. And to get an E and F card, you had to do a medical test. But those Afrikaners, they were not concerned with giving us the F. They were concerned with humiliating us. Let me tell you what they used to do to those of you who come from outside. China, Ghana, France, Nigeria, Lesotho. Let me tell you what they did to us. They had us line up in long queues. And all the interested in was to ensure that we never brought venereal diseases, STDIs, into the city, sexually transmitted diseases into the cities. So they had us expose our penises. And they will have a rubber mallet. You put your penis on the table and they hit your penis. And if it squirts, they don't allow you to work in the city. But they did not do it in a cubicle. They did it open. But listen to me. Those Afrikaners said, don't waste my time. You don't expose your penis when you come to my desk. You stand in long queues with their penises exposed there. Everybody goes past the white women and the cleaners. We were humiliated. Anybody who was not South African will never understand why I would tell anybody who demands my qualification open to go to hell. They don't understand that. Because I've been through the process and they don't understand the process. They came into their country and they found things prepared. And that's what gave them the ground to be loudmouthed and boisterous and arrogant. I'm not a CEC. Nobody does and says the things I do publicly if they're not who they say they are. I am not a CC. Dr. Shimi Chikotu is not a CC. I would never take on the challenges. I would never take on the task I've taken if I was not who I say I am. I will not be bullied. The anti-regulation of religion movement is not a bunch of sissies. We know what you're talking about. We hate bullying. Every South African hates bullying. We understand what bullying is. We hate it. When it comes from a person who was not subjected to what we are subjected to, we hate it the most. We don't care what their credentials are. We will not be bullied. You see, there are people who are good at fighting wicked people, and they develop delusions of grandeur that they can fight. There are men you can't fight because there are clean men in this nation. Dr. Shimikoto is one of those men that if you have to fight me, you have to create debt to do that. I'm not a CC. I've come through the process. I will not be humiliated publicly, never. I will not be embarrassed publicly. Before anybody gets what they want from me, I must find them worthy. You may find yourself worthy to demand information from me, but until I find you worthy, I tell you to go to hell. Is it right for a pastor to tell someone to go to hell? Yes. Peter told Simon the sorcerer in the book of Acts 8 that you and your money can go to hell. Anybody who will try to bully the anti-regulation of religion movement can go to hell if they're allowed there. We will not be bullied because we are no CCs. We have been humiliated in South Africa by people who did not originate from South Africa. We embrace all Africans. We don't consider any African a foreigner. But the fact is, if you come from any country into this country, you shall respect us. We will remind you when you don't respect us. We'll tell you to go to hell or to go back to your country if you don't respect us. Take this as xenophobia. Anybody who knows me knows how Pan-African I am. But we will not be bullied. And believe me, if you think there's more debt to dig on us, do so. We're not afraid. We are fighting a cause here, but we have context of our battles. We come from a culture of bullying, a culture of humiliation, a culture of embarrassment. And we'll never take that rubbish from anybody. We refuse to take it from the Afrikaners who had guns, who had hippos, who had dogs. I was chased. I have a bite, Maki. I was chased by dogs. I was shambled. I was arrested. I remember some stage I was arrested because I refused to produce my ID, my dom pass. But in prison there, they refused to give me food with blacks. They said I was colored. At the time, colors and Indians did not have to carry their IDs. So they arrested me because I was black, but they gave me special treatment in prison because I was colored. And I went on a hunger strike. I said, I will never. If I can't eat with blacks, I won't eat at all. We won't be bullied. But let me continue. So we came up with a constitution. And that constitution has a Bill of Rights. And this Bill of Rights gives us the rights. We have a right to privacy. We have a right to confidentiality. We have a right to humane treatment. When the Civil Rights Commission went to Parliament to ask for the regulation of religion, they found waiting on the other side people, most of whom had been through the process of apartheid and discrimination and disenfranchisement. And these people had a constitution that was written in blood. And those people said to the Civil Rights Commission, your recommendations are unworkable. Your recommendations are unnecessary, but above all, your recommendations are unconstitutional. What is the meaning of unconstitutional? Unconstitutional means there is a portion of the Constitution that you are violating. The Constitution has many chapters. When anything is deemed unconstitutional, it means there is a portion of the Constitution that you are violating. Let me tell you something, those of you who were not in South Africa in 1990. The apartheid government never had a constitutional court. They cared nothing about the majority of our rights. But we created the constitution. We South Africans created the constitutional court, where any aspect of the constitution, anyone's constitutional rights which are violated, would be thrashed out there. Nobody, you can't bump into a stranger out there in the street and because they think they are worthy, they demand your driver's license. You can't bump into anybody on the streets and because they think they're worthy. No, you must find them worthy to make those demands. But even those who are authorized to make those demands, let me tell you this. We hear right now violations. Pastors fraternals, faith-based organizations are making demands on preachers. This is how you know if someone who's asking for any document from you is entitled to it. Even if it's a cop, even if it's SARS, even if it's the public protector, even if it's the president, even if it's a cabinet member. If you want to ensure that what they demand of you, they have a right to demand, you can demand a court order. That's what our constitution says. If the pastor's fraternal knocks on your door and they say to you, yeah, give us the church bank statements, and you're not sure if you should give them or not, tell them, go and get a court order. That's how a constitutional democracy works. So to all those faceless non-entities out there, demand, if you are entitled to demand what you demand from us, bring us a court order, because we are a constitutional democracy. So my closing message to all you pastors out there, we modeled yesterday the resilience we've been selling to you. Yesterday was an exercise to show you how to stand up to bullies. If your local pastor's fraternal, if your local faith-based organization comes knocking on the door demanding stuff from you, put them in their place. If they are entitled to make that demand, let them bring a court order. That's what a constitutional democracy is. You stand up to bullies of any form. Don't forget, terrorism is not an act of strength. Terrorism is the science of using fear to manipulate people. The terrorist has to create illusions of grandeur to force you into submission. Terrorists these days don't carry guns. Some of them carry pens. A lot of terrorists carry cell phones. A lot of them carry briefcases. They try to create an impression that are far bigger than they are. And they drive fear into your heart. You can only drive fear into the hearts of liars, deceivers, false people, wicked. You can never drive that into the hearts of intelligent, upright, godly, and holy men like Dr. Kotu. I hope this settles the matter. I will not entertain rubbish from anybody, from the president to the immigrant. Enjoy your day. 17th of August, we're in Newcastle. 24th of September, we're in the Val. We're talking about going back to Ekurhuleni because there are problems there. There is bullying there. There are bullying preachers there. Our legal team is working on it. And we will tell you what we need from you. We are ready to present the matter before the court. Refuse to be bullied. Enjoy your day. This is Dr. Shimi Chikotu coming to you from Joburg. Bye.